the last Toronto show, when he saw my tattoo, when I said, oh, I did this tattoo, his exact words were, "Now I gotta get you," meaning like he's got to get a tattoo of me on him, right?
Real Talk with Star Scorpio, Season 10. I am so excited to have my guest on today because we've been friends for over 30 years. And I'm
Maybe
50,
more.
maybe more, you're right. I'm 50, he's 49. We worked together. We didn't go to school together, but we worked together and we became close. We worked at St. Hubert's. It's a chicken restaurant. It's almost like Swiss Chalet. And Kevin here is somewhere right now. I'm going to ask him, and he's probably eating some of that food where he is, but we'll get into it. I'm happy to have him on my show. He's the most generous guy I know. Um, Back in the days when I was broke, Kevin used to treat me to a lot of things. He took me to the Seinfeld stand-up show in Toronto, and he also took me to a wrestling event at the Sky Dome, I believe it was. Kevin Minsopoulos, welcome to Real Talk with Star Scorpio. How you doing today?
Great, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. You know, today's a specific conversation because you've been to a lot of concert with an artist named Post Malone. And I seen pictures of you with them, and I seen all the travels that you've done from city to city. But I want to get the lowdown from beginning to where it is now. But before we get into that, there's a question I want to ask you about another artist that you really liked, and he passed away, and his name is Prince. Tell me, when did your love for Prince start?
You know what? Probably when I first heard the Purple Rain,
Mhm,
that soundtrack, like everybody else, it's like you couldn't get away from it, right?
mhm.
I think my favorite song was When Doves Cry, and
Yeah,
then like everybody else, like I was hooked, right? And then the rest is history, right? And then with him, it's like tours, concerts, albums. He couldn't release enough albums. So his record company said, okay, it's you're releasing too many, right?
yeah,
Just pull off a little bit, right? So
yeah, yeah, yeah. And tell me something. You know how you are with Post Malone now? Like you following Post around city to city.
right, right.
Of course, we were younger when Prince was around. Do you think, just fast forward for a minute, if Prince was still around, I know you would have still been a fan. Would you have done that too? Would you be going to the Prince concerts like anytime they're in Toronto or even in the States?
I think I would have, but I mean, it's like because Prince is so popular, it's like, I mean, could I get the seats I wanted, right?
Mm,
Because with Post Malone, I mean, it's like you could get whatever seat you wanted, right?
mhm.
But with Prince, it's like, I mean, he's such a global star, right? It's like everybody wants to go see him, right? So it's, I think I'd want to, but all depends. Well, if I had enough money, because the seats will probably be double the price.
Mm.
So I probably want to, but I mean, who knows if I would like actually pay the money for all those shows? But definitely, like when he came, at least once when he's here.
Yeah. And I know you've probably been to a lot of concerts too. And I got to tell the people too, even fast forward, I was talking about we attended Seinfeld and wrestling back in the days, but you treated me to seeing Chris Rock when he came here.
Right, right.
Um, what is that called at the where the Raptors
So
play?
Scotiabank Arena.
Scotiabank Arena. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was cool. Now let's get into the post conversation. We're getting right into it. So I don't even know if you were a fan of Post. When did you first get Post in your radar? Because I first saw him on a podcast and this is a while ago, and then I
Mhm.
knew about his music. But when did you start liking Post Malone, and what inspired you to attend your first concert?
that's the thing too, right? Because like I mean, for the life of me, I didn't know who Post Malone was till his fourth album.
Mm,
You know, like iTunes back in the day. Well, back when he first released his fourth album, uh, new releases were on Tuesdays. So
mhm.
it was like Post Malone has a new album out, and like, well, like all the other artists, it's like okay, let me check out his music. Then I realized that that was his fourth album, 12 Karat Toothache, which has become my favorite album of his. So it's like, then I went back to his catalog, like what I always do. It's like if I like an artist, so I downloaded three other albums he had. So right at the time, four albums right at my disposal, right? So then every other song I'm discovering something I love about it, right?
Mhm.
So it's like I love this song, now it's this song, now this song, right? So if anybody followed him back in the day, okay, they listen to one album, they like it, put it aside, then the next album, second album comes, same thing. They like a few songs, play for a couple months. Whereas me, I had four albums, so that's what started the love affair when I listened to my first album of his, which is his fourth release, and
Mhm.
then the rest is history about Post Malone.
Okay. And now, thanks for sharing that. Now, how did you decide to start following from city to city? Do you remember going to the first concert? And was it in Toronto to start your journey, or did you go to the States to start your journey?
No, it happened in Toronto. He had two shows here back to back. I remember it clearly because it was September 2022. During the week, two shows. I ceased to both of those. I take tickets for both shows, and then um, but those Toronto shows, it's like okay, that's what started all, right? And then I started going back to concerts again around that time, right? So that just that interest in going to concerts uh, started building to me again because I always went to concerts a long time ago before the pandemic, and then I stopped going, right? So
Mhm.
so it all started back in Toronto, 2022, right? So that was started going to concerts.
Okay. Do you remember some of the artists you've seen? Because I know me and you've been to a few shows, but that's
Right.
just like a snippet. Can you name some of the artists that you've seen
You know what? I
before
mean,
we get into the post conversation?
it's I'm older. We're older, right? So it's like
Mm.
I probably seen them all: Madonna, Metallica, like a well range Madonna, Metallica, Limp Bizkit, Eminem. Well, Eminem when he was touring with Limp Bizkit,
Oh,
right?
wait, that was back. You're talking about the 90s or early
Yeah,
2000s?
90s. It
Oh,
was funny too because and Eminem always came here before
mm,
he I mean before he hit it big. Well, but he released that his first album, and then it's like then he stopped coming here, right? But yeah, it's uh, I probably seen them all, not all of them, but everyone I wanted to see, I wanted to see it. But you know what? It's but it all started a couple of years ago when my love affair for concerts, believe it or not, with Justin Bieber. The pandemic was over, then he came out with his album. I love that album, so I wanted to see him when he was here. So when I went to his show, then I was like, okay, it's I. I'm getting those old kind of vibes from the past concert I've been to, right? So I wasn't going for years, right? Then he kind of started it all when he like probably one of the first shows I went to after the pandemic.
mhm.
Well, when they loosened up the restrictions, right? So I mean, yeah, it's uh, I've always been to the in the past. Like even I remember Crisscross, MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice,
Whoa,
when
whoa,
they're all
whoa.
together.
You seen all them? I didn't know
Yeah,
this.
just like you probably knew, but we're talking like years ago, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's probably like it's like even like when you said Seinfeld, I totally forgot about Seinfeld. We went to Seinfeld, right? So
Yeah.
so it's 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 funny how like some things escape us.
Mhm.
Do
And I know I'm getting off track here, but you're intriguing me to ask some questions. So I know you like rap music too, like me. We like all kind of music.
right, right.
Were you too young when Biggie was here and Tupac? Like you never got to see Biggs, Tupac. What about Snoop Dogg? Like, did you see those guys when they came here? Or are you too
You know
young?
what? No, I think I had tickets to see the Smoking Grooves tour when they're all here. Not Biggie, but like I mean, Dr. Dre, Snoop, and Eminem. Maybe Ice Cube was part of that tour. I'm not sure,
Mm,
but I mean, it's like I think I may have had to go to. I mean, I think like I was doing. I couldn't use my vacation time for work, and
Mm,
I'm not like, to me, it's like I'm one of those guys where it's like, well, I don't want to lie to work, whatever. I want to show up, right? So I mean, but even like back in the day, it's like, I mean, I would want to go, but I was like, it all depends, like if I had the money or not.
mm.
And plus, but back then, it's like, well, the concert probably would have happened. I probably wouldn't know about it, right? Whereas now it's like the internet, whatever, you kind of know when artist is coming and then
Yeah,
advertisements. So
yeah,
even if I wanted to go back then, I probably, I probably wasn't tuned into like which advertisements to look for, whatever. Maybe it was a newspaper. I wasn't paying attention, or whatever. Whereas
yeah.
now it's like you can't get away from your artist, right? But if you like an artist, now it's like you always know when they're going to perform, right? So you're always good to go.
Okay, okay. Thanks for sharing that history too. Now back to Posty. So, what is your most memorable moment of the early days when you went to the concert? Because you know that feeling. I only been to a few concerts in my life,
Right.
and I can imagine the crowd reaction when Post comes out on stage. What was the most memorable moment in the early stages when you started going?
Probably like the first song I ever listened to from Post Malone was from the fourth album, and the song's Reputation. Um, so and that's the first concert I've ever been to with him. Like it was a Toothache tour, and that was the song
Mm,
that's the opening song, right? So of course, when you first see him, that's like what gets you pumped up for the show, and so that's probably my most important moment of each show, right? It's he performs that song, and then when he first comes out, right? It's when he first shows up, started a concert, and it's my favorite song, right? So I would say it's the most memorable is when he first comes out.
okay. And how has your journey evolved over time then? So you just gave me that background now, but I can imagine going to a show that I've been to many times. Just for
Right,
example, not me. When we went to Vegas, just whatever last month, we saw Chris Angel. And
right,
Chris Angel went up to someone in the audience that was in the front row. She's been to like I can't remember the number, but say it
right,
was 30, 40 shows. So he acknowledges her. So I can imagine her first show where she's just watching Chris Angel. Maybe she had good seats, maybe she didn't. But as time went on, then she got better seats. Then
right.
the audience kind of knows her, the staff knows her, you know what I mean? And then Chris Angel now shouts her out every time. So for you, how has that journey evolved? Did you always have the good seats? And did you get to know his lineup of songs as you're saying he starts with this? So how's it
Right, right.
evolved?
Well, actually, it's like, I mean, my attitude has always been, okay, well, I want to go to the shows, but I mean, what shows do I want to go to? Really, it's been like, okay, it's if I can get front row, and because he's so like, I mean, fan friendly. Like he always looks for people in the audience to interact with. If you interact with him, like he's a fan himself, right?
Yeah.
So basically, me, it's like if I haven't been to that city and I can get front row, so it's like say I look up Ticketmaster and then there's 10 shows available. I see what shows are available for front row. Nobody has picked those seats yet. Who I can go with, but also it's like, have I been to the city yet? Do I want to visit that city, right?
Mm.
So it's always been like that, right? It's if I can get front row and basically the city too, but also it's like okay, there's a postmodern community on the internet, on
Okay.
Twitter, X, whatever. So you meet fans around the world. So it's like, I mean, you can have your meetups too, right? So it just started me just picking out shows locally. Then it came to, okay, it's like now get on a plane and traveling now, right? So that's how it actually evolved from just Toronto to like other areas where it's like I'm actually getting on a plane and traveling now.
Okay. One thing I want to know too is what you have a tattoo, right? You have
Right.
a tattoo of Post Malone. Which arm is it on?
Actually, there's two of them,
Oh,
but
you got two.
the one that I showed you that
Yeah.
you're aware about is a portrait tattoo from this time last year.
Hmm.
But I had another tattoo on my first tattoo was my right arm,
Yeah.
right? It's almost the same size as the left arm, but it's not considered a portrait tattoo. Whereas the
Hmm.
portrait tattoo is it's very detailed and lifelike, right? So actually two Post Malone tattoos, but if actually four in total, right? Because two shows he signed both tattoos, so I got to say his signature was tattooed, so you could say four tattoos.
Oh, okay. So that leads to the question now. So when did Post Malone first notice you then? Like,
Well,
did you
that's
get the backstage, like the meet and greet or the backstage? Like, when did he
well,
first notice you?
it's actually like an impromptu meet and greet. Like
Oh,
he's a fan himself, right? So he's all it's kind of like twofold. My answer. Whereas, okay, he's always looking for you in the audience. Don't matter front row, wherever you are, he's gonna acknowledge you. He's looking for you, right?
oh, okay.
But actually, last July, the first it was back to back Post Malone shows last July. So he saw my portrait tattoo and he loved it. So the next show, that's when he first noticed me because he came when he first came on stage. It was kind of like he was looking for me, maybe because he saw me off stage, and
Yeah.
plus maybe because he liked me, like the tattoo the show before. Because I also said this was like my 12th show, or
Oh,
maybe the 11th or 12th show, right?
mhm.
So last summer is when he noticed me, but I first met him like when he was signing autographs from the floor in London,
Mhm.
right? So it's so he first really noticed me, like recognized me, was back in Toronto, like the second show last July.
Oh my God.
I like that.
Here's my tattoo. Look,
That's so fucking sick, dude.
Two! He's got two!
Fuck yeah, dude. Should I sign that one?
yes.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Let's fucking go, dude. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did it feel though when he first acknowledged you? How did that feel? Because you're a fan, right? And then now you're seeing him face to face. Before you answer that, one thing I want to know too, you're pretty tall. What are you again? 6?
I would say 6'1". Like I mean, I think a doctor may have said 6 foot, but
Yeah.
then I went to other people, like other doctors, for whatever reason,
Mhm.
like checkups or whatever. Then there was a 6'1", right? So I would go with 6'1".
6'1". And then how tall is Post to you?
He's probably maybe 5'10", I would say.
Oh, so he's pretty up there too anyway. Yeah.
Right, right. Like not as tall as you think, right? But it's like I would say average height.
Okay.
But I still like towered over him.
Oh, okay. And now tell me that feeling when he first acknowledged you. Now he knows who you are. He's looking for you in the crowd. How'd that feel?
It felt great because like a lot of artists, it's like I mean they don't. I mean it's more like it's feels like a job. But for him, it's like he actually had a tour last year called "If You Weren't Some like if you weren't here, I'd be crying," right?
Mm.
Because his attitude is he's very genuine and sincere about his fans and like loving us and telling us how much he appreciates us and how much we inspire him. So when he acknowledged me personally, it felt great because it's what he says is true. I mean, you can say, I mean, actions speak louder than words. So, I mean, if like he says it, but he actually means it because like he shows it in his actions too. But also on a side note, he's a fan himself, right? So like he's treating his fans the way he wants to be treated, right? So I mean, me, it felt great. This is probably why I go to so many shows, right? Because just that fan interaction. That's why I
Yeah.
always say if I can't get front row, then I'm saying, do I really need to go to that show? Because I've seen so many shows. How many shows do I need to see? But me,
Right.
it's more like the show, but also the meet and greet with him, right?
Mhm.
So of course, if I'm going to travel again, okay, that's why it's like okay, if I can get front row, then there's a chance I can meet him. So then I'll go to those shows.
Okay. And there's one more question I got to ask you about this too, but I just want to pause. Where are you right now? Let the people know because I was mentioning that in the intro. So where are you right now? What are you doing?
I'm in Laval, Quebec. Uh, Post Malone's buddy, the Killer Roy, he's here right now, and he's offered a meet and greet here.
Mm.
So I'm like, well, I become a big fan of his too, right? And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't a meet and greet.
Oh.
So what the thing is, we have a connection now. Like Post Malone, I can show him my tattoo, and then he has a song with Post Malone on a couple of his songs, right? I mean, it's I'm not just a general fan.
Yeah.
I'm actually like, I mean, we have a connection. We have something to go on now. Where it's like during the meet and greet, he may have questions for me now. Whereas, but also today's a sound check.
Yeah.
It's but also tomorrow I'm going back to Toronto where we both live, and there's another show there, another meet and greet too, right? So I mean, it's but just one thing to keep in my mind is like the last Toronto show when he saw my tattoo, when I said, oh, I did this tattoo, his exact words were, "Now I gotta get you," meaning like he's got to get a tattoo of me on him, right? So who knows? Like if I might bring it up to Leroy during our sound check because there's questions gonna be asked, right? Saying, well, it's what if, I might ask him, what do you think the chances are of like him actually doing it too, right? So it's so we have a connection with Post Malone too, right? So I'm not just just a normal fan where it's just go the meet and greet then you leave, right? So we have some sort of connection too, right? So who knows what will happen after today?
Oh, nice. Thanks for sharing all that. How do you think that this whole experience has impacted your life, man?
You know, it's when you get older, it's like, I mean, it's you have more aches and pains. I mean, well, it's like, I mean, life doesn't seem as good as you thought. Like, life, you're not as happy as you think you should be. Well, I mean, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy, but it's like, um, you always need some sort of inspiration too, right? So what I know is what being a Post Malone fan, like because he acknowledges you, he really loves his fans, he's so fan friendly. When I bought all these shows, it's always something to look forward to. Okay, there's this show, there's that show I'm going to, there's this show. Like even now, he has a country album coming out next in August. So there's got to be another tour. So it's like it's a couple of things about how he's impacted me, right? Because like it's something to look forward to. When you have something to look forward to, that's like it kind of gets you up in the morning. It starts your day right because you might be thinking about another tour. You listen to his music, but also it's like he's always about positivity, inspiration, live your life to the fullest. Who cares what anybody thinks? Just, I mean, be your best. So that's like he has a lot of encouraging messages like that too,
Yeah.
right? So that's what inspires me, like just his attitude.
All right, Kev. Yo, last question. Thanks for sharing all this information about you and
Not a
your
problem.
travels. Yeah, man. Last question I want to ask you though is, do you have any advice for other fans who want to follow their favorite artist? What have you
You know
learned?
what? You know what? I mean, plan. I mean, you always gotta plan it out. Plan. I mean, it's like, is this the artist you want to follow? I mean, is it just the one fan? I mean, it's like, I mean, uh, is it just one artist? Do you have more artists you want to go see? Because it's like, say you see your favorite artist like two or three times, but I mean, does that leave you with enough money for the other artists you want to go see, right? Because I just came back from Miami to see Madonna, right? Because I said to myself,
Oh,
like,
you went.
yeah, I said to myself, well, she's in Miami. Do I want to go see Miami? There's seats available up close because she just added a third show, so good seats are available, right? And then I work a lot, so I had money to go see her in Miami. So my answer to that is like, I mean, you gotta plan out. I
Mm.
mean, is this the only artist you want to go see? I mean, do you have enough money to see for all these shows, or like, what is your goal? Just to follow this artist? So I would just say plan it out, and because it's not cheap, it costs money. Everything costs money.
Yeah. All right. We made it through. Now, since you're here, I'm gonna ask the Star Scorpio question, right? Everyone gets this question now. So what do you want me to read out? The Blue Jays or the Raptors?
Blue Jays.
Oh, finally, everyone's choosing the Raptors again. All right. What is one of the most memorable moments of your life?
Uh, like in general, memorable.
Anything.
Uh, pro- I'd probably say the birth of my kids, right? So it's like it's um like they're so precious too, right? Because it's and also, you know what, with them, it's like, I mean, on a side note, they've never back talked me once, like ever, right? I talk to them, and it's like they listen. So I would just say the birth of my kids. So you probably just, it was just, your question is probably one memorable. So I was just saying like there's two, right?
That's
It's
fine.
the birth of my kids.
Mm.
So I would think that that's the perfect answer to that question.
Okay. Yo, you're another one. I think I've had mostly Greeks on my damn podcast. Eh? Me and the Greeks, man. I know so many Greeks.
It's just
you're
the way it
another
goes.
one, man. Yes. All right, Kevin. Any final word before we sign off?
You know what? I mean, it's life is to be. I mean, it's your money. Do whatever you want with it. I mean, it's if you want to follow all your artists. I mean, no, like we're here. We're talking Post Malone today. I mean, it's like, I mean, it's nobody has ever said a negative word about how I spend my money going all these shows. Everybody's really positive. So I would say in general, it's like it's your money. Do it makes you happy. You want to save it, save it. To me, it's like my attitude is like, or my happiness is traveling and seeing Post Malone. So I get to see Post Malone, and I'm seeing other places too, right? So it's a win-win situation. So do whatever you want. I mean, take suggestions, but I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's all it is suggestions, right? So I mean, it's your money, it's your life. Live it how you want to live it.
Mm. All right, before we go though, I gotta shout out Louis, man. How's Louis doing, man? I gotta shout out Louis. He's gotta hear his name on the podcast.
Yeah, he's doing good. Like, I mean, we talk a lot. I visit him a lot. Like he's my go-to guy. It's like, okay, I see my father every week, and when I see my father, cousin Louis is close by, right? So it's like, if I see my father, I gotta see cousin Louis too, right? So it's like goes hand in hand. See my father, see Louis, see my father, see Louis, right? So he's doing good. He'll appreciate the shout out.
Right. Thanks for coming on. This is Real Talk with Star Scorpio, season 10, and we out.